Hello, everyone, and welcome to the year that was ... And we are discussing 1997. And if the new listeners, if obviously you're new listeners, if you don't know what we're doing, we are going chronologically through a year of professional wrestling, and the year that I selected to start the show is 1997. And we are going to be discussing WrestleMania 13 here in a minute. Um, and discussing that with me is my brother Nate.
Hello.
And my brother from another mother, Archie Mitchell.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. And that is exactly how I should have started this show. I should have just said, hey, yo. Um, on a somber note, we are starting this show off of the heels of the passing of a guy that I wanted to post this on the Facebook pages that we have, but I didn't. It was that we're unfortunately starting this show on the heels of the passing of Scott Hall. And all of us are around the same age. Nate's a little older than me. Archie's a couple years older than me. But Scott Hall is a wrestler that was a integral part of the entire era of my wrestling fandom, early
Mine as
wrestling
well.
fandom. If that makes sense. Like I loved wrestling since I was a little 5-year-old kid, but I really started getting to wrestling in like 93, 94. You know what I mean? Like when I hit like 10.
Right.
And this might, you guys might tell me I'm off when I say this, but I think if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, like 10 years old is when you figure out what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Like
I agree with
it's
that.
not reasonable. It's you start understanding what it is. And that would, for me, would be like 92, 93. And Hall was part of all of that. So this is the first passing of a guy that's like, I saw his entire career in my mind. You know what I mean? Like I saw Scott Hall from the beginning of his career to the end of his career, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And like Roddy Piper, when Roddy Piper died, I was like, God damn! I was super sad when Roddy Piper died, you know. And I did see his career, but it was after the fact. Like his entire, like I saw his entire career, but after the fact. Like I went back and watched shit from like Portland and all that shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I can remember watching Scott Hall during his entire fucking career. If that makes sense.
Yep.
And he's the first guy that I know of that didn't die young, like an Eddie Guerrero or something like that. Like this one hit me. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I can honestly say that he was one of the most recognizable wrestlers in the world of professional wrestling. I mean, if you watched him in the AWA and you knew him as, you know, Coyote, and then he made it to WCW and he was the Diamond Stud, right when those Razor Ramon vignettes started in WWE, and you were a kid, you were like, hey, that's the Diamond Stud. Hey, he was just in WCW. He was with Diamond Dallas Page. And then he talked for the first time. And I don't know, look, as a kid, I grew up, my dad watching the movie Scarface. So when he came out doing those mannerisms, I was like, hey, he's like Scarface. Oh my God. Yeah. It got me into it more. It was cool. He was bad. He was everything we weren't supposed to be seeing. And then he got in the ring and just started laying a beating on people. It was like, damn, this guy's for real.
And I'll say this, we're going to, just so everybody knows, we are going to do a special edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast this week where we are going to discuss Scott's career from beginning to end. And of course, obviously talk about certain matches and things in the way that we as fans enjoyed his work and enjoyed his, just, I mean, there's nobody on this panel that's not a Scott Hall fan. The one thing I will say, and I will elaborate more on it on We Can't Wrestle this week, though, and you guys will know what I mean. They have discussions about who is the best wrestler of all time, who is the best heel of all time, who is the best face of all time, who is the best technical wrestler of all time. Scott Hall is the coolest wrestler of all time.
Without a doubt.
You know what I mean? He's just fucking cool, man.
And he does a pretty good job of checking a lot of those other boxes you mentioned, too. He was very technical. He told a great story in that ring. And he had all the charisma in the world. You know?
And it's not even like Nate was like, oh, he's the coolest wrestler of all time. Like, I think he might be the coolest dude in the history of wrestling.
Yeah,
not just a wrestler, like not even just a professional wrestler, just the dude in the business. And I know he had his pitfalls and shit like that, but I think he's the coolest dude. He might be the slickest, coolest fucking dude ever existed in the history of professional wrestling.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like,
Aaron, you mentioned his pitfalls. In my opinion, and maybe I'm going to sound stupid, seeing him go through what he went through and seeing him bounce back the way that he did made him even cooler. When he went through with DDP and cleaning himself up and getting back to being a normal, as normal as he could be, and then to find out that it was a hip surgery that took him out, it wasn't even the drug or the alcohol abuse. It was just like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
That made it sting even more so.
But like I have and then we'll get into the show. But I have little Scott Hall, like Nate talks about with Kike and Chad and Chad and I'll joke around about it. Like we'll have cornetisms, like head on a hat, and I'll look at people and say, "You're fucking the dog. I'm just holding its head." Like with Cornette. Like I have Hallisms that I use every day in my life, and nobody knows what I'm talking about. Like I've had a guy at work get all butthurt about some shit and not want to do what he wanted to do, and I've muttered under my breath, like, "What are we too close to Portland?" And nobody knows what I'm talking about. but it's like that's a Scott Hallism, you know what I mean? And one of my and I'll edit this. One of my favorite fucking things that I've ever heard anybody say about Scott Hall, and I've mentioned it to Nate before, even before his passing, was that Shawn and Nash would be in the car with him talking about the business and all that shit. And Hall never thought he was the smartest guy in the car, but they always thought they always knew he was the smartest guy. You know what I mean? And because Nash could do a leapfrog, because Nash was a basketball player before he got into wrestling, so he was an athletic dude, which a lot of people don't give him credit for. But he could do a leapfrog. And this is one of my favorite Scott Hall stories is Nash did it, and all the WWF executives and agents and everything were like, "Oh, that was super impressive. Oh man, that was great. Kevin's 6'11" and he can do a leapfrog. Oh, that's great." And Hall was like, "Why the fuck are you doing a leapfrog?
Yeah,
you're 6'11,
right?
7 fucking foot tall. Why are you doing a leapfrog? If a guy runs it, you just stand there. They're gonna bump right off of you." And then he's just like, "Oh, I'm dumb. I don't know what I'm talking about." And Shawn and Nash were like, "That's the fucking smartest thing anybody told us." And Nash was like, "That was when I realized it's I'm working." Like Nash was like, "That's when I realized I'm working too hard." I'm not working. I'm not working smart. I'm working dumb. You know what I mean? So, and that's the last thing I'll say about Scott. But I wanted to put on my show the admiration and love and respect that I have for the Scott Hall Razor Ramon, whatever you want to call him, character. That fucking dude was fucking great.
Absolutely.
I don't know him, never met him, but I'm gonna miss him. So this show is dedicated to Scott Hall.
And as well it should be. All of our shows this week are dedicated to Scott Hall.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
So, all right. With that being said, we are going into March 3rd, or not March 3rd. I did that the other week. We're going into March 23rd, 1997. We're coming out of Monday Night Raw and Nitro and all that shit. Going into it, this is WrestleMania 13 from the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago, Illinois. And I'm going to ask you guys, and if you don't want to put a ranking on it, how would you rate WrestleMania 13 before we talk about it? I want to know what you guys think. Is this in either one of you guys' top 10 WrestleManias ever?
WrestleMania 13 is in my top 5.
I'd say it's in my top 10. I wouldn't call it top 5, though.
All right. This is in my top, not piggyback off of Nate, but this is in my top 5. I think this WrestleMania is fucking fantastic. I've been looking forward to talking about it, and here we go. It's a cool WrestleMania 13 opener, and it's a cool video showing like Sid and The Undertaker and Brett and Austin and the Nation of Domination and Ahmed and LOD, and the voiceovers like a night. WrestleMania is a night to rejoice, but none of these men are smiling. They're all pissed off and ready to get in there. And it's the first WrestleMania that I know of, and Nate, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the first WrestleMania that I know of that has no America the Beautiful at the beginning of it.
Yes, it is.
I don't know why, but they just didn't do it.
Wait. Did they have America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 12? I'm trying to remember.
Wasn't Salt and Pepper? No, Salt and Pepper saying "What a Man About."
Yeah, 11. 11. WrestleMania 11 had the Special Olympics girl sing. Yeah. I think it was WrestleMania 12. I don't think anybody sang the anthem at 12. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I'm just saying. I think yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll give you that. I put that in my notes. It's a stupid note, but I was just like, I don't remember if that was the first time or not. And it was always funny because like it was never the national anthem. Well, it was when I think Mean Gene sung it, but that's like such a Vince thing. We're not gonna do the national anthem, pal. I don't like the national. America the Beautiful.
Yeah,
fuck the national anthem.
It's not a hospital. It's a medical facility.
Yes, America the Beautiful. Fuck the national anthem, America the Beautiful. But anyway, the opening match of WrestleMania 13 is a 4-way tag with the Godwins with Hillbilly Jim versus the Headbangers, the Blackjacks, and Furnace and LaFawn. It's a 4-way match, and the winners of this 4-way elimination tag team match are going to get a shot on Raw against whoever wins between Bulldog and Owen versus Vader and Mankind. So basically, it's a number 1 contendership match. The winners of this match get a tag team title shot tomorrow night on Raw. I like all of these teams. I don't see anything wrong with any of them. You guys?
I don't either. I'll chime in here. This is why this was not one of my most favorite WrestleManias, and it's only in my top 10. The World Tag Team title match was kind of thrown together to put Vader and Mankind on WrestleMania and gave them a title shot. Meanwhile, you got 4 teams here who could have equally just gotten a shot at the titles and going on from there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So a lot of matches, because of what Shawn did, because of what Brett was doing behind the scenes, had to be reshuffled and restructured, thus making WrestleMania look different than it had to, or it would have. So, yeah. But I think this is a great opener. It was a good 4-way tag team match, in all honesty.
So it starts like the Godwins come out and the Headbangers come out. LaFon and Furnace come out, and they're putting over the new Blackjacks and showing you like a video of the old Blackjacks. So going in, you're assuming that the Blackjacks are going to win this thing, but they don't. Because they even give Blackjack Bradshaw and Blackjack Wyndham a promo, and Blackjack Bradshaw carries it, and he's like, "Little boys, get up. Big boys, shut up." Whatever the fuck he says. And they're saying the Blackjacks are going to ride again. They run out there. They storm the ring, and it's a big brawl right at the beginning. Settles down to a normal dance. The Blackjacks and Furnace and LaFon wind up brawling outside of the ring, and the Blackjacks are disqualified because Bradshaw shoves the referee, and then Furnace and LaFon aren't disqualified. They're counted out. So they're immediately, those two teams are taken out, and then it turns into a just basic tag team match with the Headbangers and the Godwins, and the Headbangers end up winning when Mosh hits the bombs away on Phineas for the 1, 2, 3. So the Headbangers are now the number one contenders for the tag team championships. And even as a kid, I was like, man, I did not, and I'm not even mad at it because I like the tag team, but I was like, man, I did not expect the Headbangers to win that fucking match.
I was about to say that too. I remember at the time thinking that the Blackjacks were going to win because they were giving them such a push going into WrestleMania,
and hyping them up. At least Furnace and LaFon, if it wasn't going to be the Blackjacks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already seen Furnace and LaFon wrestle the Bulldog and Owen a bajillion times, so maybe not them.
Right, but we didn't know who was going to win the tag titles tonight.
Right,
at the show. So it could have been them taking them off of Mankind and Vader after one day.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But the 4-way match itself, it wasn't bad. I thought it was a good opener, and I don't have any really negative things to say about it.
No, it was a decent 4-way, a decent opener for WrestleMania. And
go ahead.
No, I was just say it was a decent opener for WrestleMania, and you're getting into, at this time, you're heading into that era of multiple man, multiple team matches, which I'm not always a big fan of, but it is what it is. This is 97. The business is changing. So you're opening up WrestleMania with a multiple man match or a multiple team match, I guess you'd say.
You mean gang warfare, Nate?
Yeah.
You mean when everybody had their own faction?
Which honestly, Nate, isn't like a complete deviation from what they've done in the past. I mean, WrestleMania 4, what did that open with?
A battle royal.
You know what I mean? So it's not unheard of match to just get guys on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And all these guys deserve to be on the show, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a...
Can I ask a dumb question, though?
Probably.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
By mid-year, we have the DOA, Los Boricuas, NOD, who was the other group? Those three. Kurgan and the Truth Commission. We've got the Hart Foundation. DX is formally starting to get together, but not completely enough yet. You know, there's 7 or 8 different factions. But yet when we get to Survivor Series, there's only 2 multi-man matches. What the fuck were they thinking then? Why did you put all these factions together if we weren't going to use them on the night that it's needed?
You're Your year didn't build well, or it didn't pay off well anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, hey, we need all these factions. Yeah, and we'll have them have a war at Survivor Series. Yeah, that's a good payoff. Come Survivor Series. Well, we're gonna do Brett versus Sean. We know that. Okay, cool. What else are we doing? Fuck if I know.
Well, you're kind of burying you're kind of burying the Vince Rousseau lead at the beginning of the year here because we're only in March. He's still got a lot of fucking bro. He's still got a lot of road to
put it on
here.
a poll, add some New York rules, and we're good.
Yes. So
sorry,
the headbang.
For real.
That's okay. So now the Honky Tonk Man or the Headbangers are now the number one contenders, and the next thing out of the chute after the Headbangers leave is the Honky Tonk Man. So the Honky Tonk Man shows up at WrestleMania 13, and he is still looking for his next big protege that is going to become the new greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And he's out here to scout this match that's coming up because it is for the Intercontinental Championship. It is the Sultan versus Rocky Maivia.
And he says Rocky Maivia is in the back.
With upset
stomach.
Yes. So it's the Sultan versus Rocky Maivia. In my notes, I put it's Pre-Rock versus Samoan Bane.
That's good. That works.
That is with the Sultan. It took me a long time to try to figure out what the Sultan looked like. I'm like, he looks like Samoan Bane.
I will be the Intercontinental Champion.
Make a change, we will. No, that was your other gimmick.
This is my new faction, the League of Shadows. It's fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
It is, but it was stupid when I read.
By the way, you know I do this sometimes. I had to go back and check. There was no America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 12.
I checked as well. That's why I didn't chime in because there was no America the Beautiful here or 12. Here at 12, there was no America the Beautiful.
So they didn't have any fucking Top of the Pops people for those 2 years.
Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles were busy. Leave us alone.
One had diabetes and the other one didn't have a driver.
I heard Ray Charles had a driver, but it was John Cena.
Ray Charles couldn't see him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get the quicker.
Back to this Intercontinental title match.
Yeah.
So it's Pre-Rock versus Samoan Bane. So it's Sultan versus Rocky Maivia, and nothing against either one of these people because basically it's The Rock versus Rikishi. If you guys don't know,
right.
If you're too young to understand who these people are, Rikishi is, or was, I should say, fucking talented as fuck. Anybody that tells me they don't think that Rikishi should be on the list of like top 10 big man wrestlers ever is a fucking idiot. I don't want to call you. I think Nate's gonna be like, he was number 12 on mine.
No, I absolutely agree. Right, him and Samu both.
Like, would you consider Rikishi a big man? Like a big man wrestler? And he was fucking fantastic.
Jumped off the top of that cage and it looked killer.
And he could work with fucking anybody. You know what I mean? And
took a piece of shit comedy gimmick and turned it gold.
Yeah.
Dancing with Too Cool every night and actually made the crowd get into it.
And this, like I told Nate the other day when we were recording the show, this was like a perfect selection for a guy to work with Rocky Maivia and his like WrestleMania debut. It's his family. So he like, okay, this guy is big and intimidating looking and knows how to fucking work. And he's going to be able to carry this guy that we think is a star, but we're not sure exactly what he can do. And we know he's not going to fucking bury him when he goes out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I say this, it's not knocking the match. They didn't really do anything that was like super special out there.
Right.
Like,
it was basic.
And I think it was probably Rikishi going, look, you're new. You don't know everything. Let's just go out there and keep it fucking basic. Because if we go out there and try to do something super crazy, it's going to fucking probably shit the bed. So let's keep it basic as fuck. So they just went out there and they basically had an 80s big man versus baby face, like big heel versus smiley baby face match. And like I said, it wasn't nothing special, but it didn't shit the bed. And also Bob Backlund and the Sheik being out there helped it too.
Well, yeah, it allowed a lot of legendary. It allowed them both to get the rub from Backlund and Sheik. They were taken care of because they knew neither one was going to hurt each other. It made for an okay match. It was definitely not WrestleMania worthy, but it didn't. It should have been on a pay-per-view. So yeah, it was a decent match.
Rocky Maivia ends up winning with a roll-up, and he's still the Intercontinental Champion. And then the Sultan, Bob Backlund, and the Iron Sheik attacked Pre-Rock, which brings out Billy D. Williams. I mean,
this is Orlando Calrissian. Yes, Rocky Johnson.
Who it looked at first, if you didn't know who it was, you thought it was Billy D. Williams. Lando comes out, and he saves his son, or attempts to save his son, and they get the upper hand on him. And the Honky Tonk Man is getting into it, and now Sultan has Billy D in the camel clutch, and Honky Tonk Man is really getting into the beatdown and yells the words, "Kick him in the head." That's what he says. "Hey, Sheik, kick him in the head." And Vince McMahon's like, "Oh, come on. Come on."
So
Honky Tonk Man wants the Iron Sheik just to kick Rocky Johnson right in the fucking head.
An observation that I want to make really quick. And I thought about this the other day. I don't know what. It doesn't matter. Obviously, everybody who listens to any of our shows knows that probably my peak wrestling fandom is from the year 1990 to the year 2001. Okay. That's my, and I love to go back and watch the other stuff. Don't get me wrong. My peak fandom years are that 30 or 20 year period or whatever. Anyway, something I think is amusing, and I was thinking about it the other day. So in 1984, Hulkamania starts, WWF blows up, okay? 1993, Hulk Hogan and all his buddies leave. We've got a new generation, quote unquote. I think it's hilarious that from 1984 to 1993, I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this. They didn't mention almost anybody that wrestled there between 1994 or before 1984. After Hogan and his buddies leave, they start mentioning Big Cat Ernie Ladd. They start mentioning Rocky Johnson. Now all of a sudden these guys are back. You know what I mean? Like they through the whole rock and wrestling, through the whole rock and wrestling era, they kind of ignored the past of the company. But then once Hogan and all them were gone, they're like, oh, WWF Hall of Fame, Rocky Johnson, Antonino Rocca.
Usually the old fucks, these old fucks, their knees still work, so they're over there. We do the old fucks living in campers and shit.
Our old fucks are the Big Cat Ernie Ladd.
They needed the old fucks that need a
I just find it amusing that they for that 9 years they didn't acknowledge any of those people, and then once all those all them 80s WWF guys were gone, they were like, well, we need to have legends, so let's start acknowledging people from the 70s and before 1984. Anyway,
yeah, and the only ones they had left were Jimmy Snuka and the Honky Tonk Man
and Don Morocco
and Don Morocco. Everybody else bounced. They're just like, oh, we're gonna take her money, but it was fucking Morocco, Snuka, and the Honky Tonk Man. But anyway, like I said, Rocky Johnson comes out and tries to save Rocky Maivia, which is his kid, but he ends up in a camel clutch, and then Rocky ends up regrouping and saving his dad, and they double team the Iron Sheik, and the Iron Sheik gets to take a bump at WrestleMania 13. It was really slow how he did it, but he still got to do it. It was a very careful bump. And then The Rock and Rocky Johnson get to have the father-son celebration in the ring. And that's how that ended.
And Rocky Johnson's wearing a leather jacket.
Well,
not a leather jacket, folks. Like a literal, like it looks like a suit jacket, but it's leather.
Not at this time though. When him and Rock are celebrating, Johnson has no upper clothes on. He's just wearing his old man pants. You know what I'm talking about with the old man pants?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like where there's not like a button. It's like the last thing, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Where it's got like the stretchy band on it too. So if you get a little fat, you can still stretch that shit around. It's like your belt, your pants have a built-in belt, an adjustable belt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You gotta clasp it. It doesn't button, it clasps. Anyway. So they're happy and they leave together. And now Todd Pettengill is going to interview Ken Shamrock. And I put Todd Pettengill interviews Kenny Soprano because Ken Shamrock is and Archie, I'm not trying to insult your people. Okay, you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
You ready for this? I'm not trying to insult your people. I know where you're from. But Shamrock has his hair slicked back, right? He's got a nose that looks like it's been broken 27 times. And he's wearing like a full windbreaker suit. And he's just like, hey, here I am. I'm Ken Shamrock. You know what I mean? Like, he looks like the guy that Tony Soprano sends to get his fucking money. Or, like, you guys are wanting to shut down the trash business. No, you send Kenny Soprano there. That's what he looked like to me. He looked like he looked like a Goomba in this fucking promo. Like he is wearing the Adidas windbreaker suit, and he's just like, I'm Kenny Soprano. That's what he looked like to me.
How dare you make fun of the New Jersey tuxedo?
Todd Pettengill's like, Ken Shamrock, tonight you referee Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Ken Shamrock's like, yeah, I'm coming here for my career in, waste management.
Yeah. Because I managed wasting people in the UFC. Like, he looked like a fucking enforcer. And when I say this, I'm saying it is, I'm not trying to be derogative towards it. I'm saying, like, he looked fucking scary. Like, this is the dude that would come and fuck you up if something happened or you needed something to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the other amazing thing about Shamrock, and I'll talk about it next week, he's a guy that at the beginning of his career in the WWF, he was terrible. Like, this dude could not cut a promo. Like, when Pettengill was like, how are you going to referee the match tonight? And he's like, well, if I have to, I'm going to disqualify this guy. I'm here to make sure that this happens. And he's like all over and he's like trying to use words that he shouldn't be trying to use. And like, I know Nate isn't, and we talked about this earlier, like, he's not a huge Shamrock fan. I like Ken. I'm a big Ken Shamrock fan. I like that fucking character. But
I like Severn better.
Really?
Yeah, I like Severn better.
You just think he was more believable? As like a badass?
Yes,
Right.
yes, he would come to the ring with 4 belts around his waist. He'd get in the ring, he'd beat the crap out of his opponent, he'd walk back up the rampway. Didn't say a word. And he had Jim Cornette as a manager for a little while. Ken Shamrock, you just said it. You just said it. He was wearing a tracksuit. He barely stumbled on his words. You know, he might as well have been saying, yeah, I came here from New Jersey to take care of that thing. What thing is that? You know, the Brett Sean thing. You know, the Brett Austin thing. Oh, okay.
But like I was saying, like Shamrock, he stumbles over his words in this promo. He gets a lot better later when they let him be fucking crazy. And it's almost like, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds because we'll talk about it later, but I almost think, and Nate, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think Vince McMahon took the same thought process with Shamrock that he took with Sid. Like, the first couple times you heard this guy talk, he was like, Jesus Christ, that's a fucking train wreck. But then he was like, well, let's just have him snap. And then when he snaps and says some shit, you're like, oh, yeah, he snapped. He's crazy.
Yes. Well, and at this time, a couple of points I'll make. I'm not trying to go long-winded here, but firstly, at this time, I will say that had the shit not gone down with Brett later in the year, and had what do I say? Had Russo not convinced Vince that the Attitude Era type thing was the way to go, I think that the plan was to go in a more of a direction with a guy like Ken Shamrock on the top. He was going to be the top guy.
Yeah. And see, I've always thought this way. And it's not with the Attitude Era. I always thought that if how do I say it? If Steve hadn't popped off. And I know Steve's kind of like the catalyst for the Attitude Era or whatever. So we're kind of on the same level or the same wavelength. I think that they weren't anticipating Stone Cold to pop off. So if Steve would have popped off and all them people would have got behind him, it would have been Ken Shamrock.
Yeah. And also, I've always said, and I've said this a few times before in previous shows, I don't know exactly what happened with Ken as far as him kind of falling out in 99, but ultimately what happened, I think, with Kurt Angle was originally what was supposed to happen with Ken Shamrock. You know what I mean?
I agree with that to a certain extent, yeah.
That legit badass athlete snapping people's ankles and stuff. I don't know, just you can draw a direct correlation between Ken Shamrock and Kurt Angle, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Everything I'm not getting too into it, but everything I read with Ken, it was he didn't want to do a lot of that skeevy shit that Russo was trying to do. Like, oh, you're gonna fuck your sister. He's like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he said he said that. He said, I got a family at home, I got a wife and kids, and we're respectable.
My kids are out on the playground and shit. I'm trying to run this fucking dojo, and you want me to say I'm fucking my sister?
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Anyway. So, but also
wait. Ken, you'll become a maniac and just snap and kill people with a chair? Yes. You'll beat up anybody. You'll go to Owen Hart's house and beat him up in front of his father. Yes. Will you fuck your sister? No, I got to draw a line somewhere.
Got to draw a line somewhere.
My kids are on the monkey bars, for Christ's sakes.
They're on monkey bars. Now I see why Sid goes and plays softball.
And I can also say I appreciate and respect Ken Shamrock for being like, no, I'm not doing that.
Of course.
Fuck that.
So it's an awful storyline anyway.
So Kenny Soprano cuts this promo, and then we go to Doc Hendricks, and he's interviewing Triple H in China. Because we're rolling into Triple H with China versus Goldust with Marlena. And this is Nate's favorite feud of 1997. Correct?
It went so long.
Go away heat with me with this feud. I love the two performers, but I can't stand them together. I don't know why, folks, but I just can't.
It wouldn't end.
It doesn't even end after this. Like,
right.
WrestleMania is usually a blow off, but I'm just giving you guys fucking spoiler alert to next week. It goes into next week and then the week after that. So we get
it was like this was Scott Hall's punishment. This was Triple H's punishment for the curtain call. We're gonna make you wrestle Goldust for an entire year and a half. But you said you were adding China. Oh, we will. But you're still going to be wrestling Goldust for the entire year. Poor Goldust sitting there. I'm just going to leave and go to TNA when it opens. Yeah, that's fine. But you will wrestle Triple H while you're here.
So we're rolling into Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Goldust. China Marlena at ringside. I wrote this down because I thought it was funny. Jerry Lawler says China looks like Ross and Vince were talking about how muscular and defined that China was. And Lawler says, do you know why China looks like that? And they're like, why? And he's like, China looks like that because she got breastfed by her father.
Oh, God. God, that's so bad.
And neither one of them fucking say they don't even
nothing.
Give him nothing.
No,
give him nothing. I thought it's like this is the funniest goddamn thing that's said during the entire WrestleMania 13. China looks like that because she was breastfed by her father. I thought that shit was funny, and I don't think he wrote that down. Like that wasn't even like
no, it came up spare in a moment.
It came right off the top of Lawler's head. I'm like,
yep.
That was fucking Jerry at his best, right there. That was a Bobby Heenan line. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
It was fucking great. So during this match, there's not a lot going on in it. And I know Nate said you don't like the feud or whatever, but they never had a bad match.
No, no.
So it's a good, solid match. Marlena winds up on the apron because she's like yelling at the referee. Triple H ends up knocking her into China, who grabs her and then ragdolls her, and it's just like flinging her around. And visually, it looks fucking awesome. Like visually, it's great, and it's like China is fucking 5'10" and 220 pounds, and Marlena is like 4'10" and like 95 pounds. So China just swinging her around and doing all that shit to her looked fucking fantastic. And I guarantee Marlena probably had no like China didn't hurt her or anything like that, but just the visual of China and Marlena is fantastic.
That's what I was going to say. There was no better way to introduce China to the world than having her ragdoll Marlena the way she did. Like you use the word visually. Visually, it's so impressive.
It goes to show that they knew how to book a bigger female back then.
You could just say you could just stop at book, Archie. They knew how to book back.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like you look at the way they book Nia Jax, and you look at the way they're booking Jade on AEW, and it's like, dude, why do we have to pretend like they're 120 pounds
Mm-hmm.
and that they can wrestle when they're monsters? I mean, you mentioned Scott Hall telling Kevin Nash, just let them run into you and they'll bounce off of you. Why aren't we doing that still?
Yep.
You know, Nia Jax was 6'2" and 300 pounds, and yet she was trying to wrestle like a cruiserweight while fighting Alexa Bliss. Meanwhile, China ragdolled Marlena and became an instant legend overnight.
Yes.
You know,
like, and this will be the only thing I say about China. I think honestly, if she would have never wrestled, I think she would have had a bigger thumbprint in wrestling, if that makes sense.
Well, I think what ruined her thumbprint in wrestling was through no fault of her own. I think that she drew the short end of the stick when Hunter and Steph got together, and
yes.
that really, I don't know. I think from her perspective, probably even I don't want to be in this environment anymore. I don't want to watch these two be together every day of my life. And
excuse me,
I don't want. I didn't mean to drag it in the weeds, but
no, you're fine. I from what I heard, because I watched her Dark Side of the Ring, where it was the documentary of the last few weeks of her life, and she says that when she went in to renegotiate her contract, having done everything she did already, wrestling Eddie, wrestling Jericho, Intercontinental Champion, Women's Champion at WrestleMania, and everything her and Hunter and DX did, she expected her contract to be higher than what it was when she first came in. Because imagine when she first came in, how much could her contract really have been? You know, coming in as a bodyguard,
right?
And when they showed her contract, it was like a bump of like $5,000, and she's like, "No, this can't be right. I should be being paid like one of the guys because I'm on the road just as much as they are wrestling, just as much as they are, and I wrestle both the men and the women, so I should be getting compensated." And they told her, "Nope, this is what we have for you. Take it or leave it." And that's so you want me to be in an ugly place where my boyfriend left me for the boss's daughter and give me the shit end of the stick money wise? Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know?
Tough situation for her to be in.
Definitely.
The next thing we see is Shawn Michaels trying to figure out cyberspace. Like he's back in the fucking computer lounge, like just
chicken pecking,
like
chicken
pecking, and Vince is laughing, like ha ha ha. And like Nate and I talked about, fucking Vince and HBK in '97 is fucking annoying. It's fucking annoying. So then we roll into the next match, fifth match on the card. It's Vader and Mankind versus Owen Hart and the British Bulldog for the WWF Tag Team Championships. Vader and Mankind come out, and then Owen and Bulldog come out. And as they're coming out, JR is trying to interview them in the aisleway, and JR is questioning Owen and Bulldog, and JR is basically trying to tell Bulldog, how do you feel about the fact that Owen thinks that he's smarter than you? And then Owen kind of pushes JR and says, stop trying to stir the pot. You're just a pot stirrer, and tells him to sit his, he doesn't say it, but he's like, sit your fat ass down and stop trying to like smarten up my big fucking dumb friend over here. Like Owen and Bulldog is a tag. That's my favorite. That's my second favorite tag team of all time. I'm going to put that out there. They're my second favorite tag team of all time. My only favorite tag team over them is Bret and Neidhart. But Owen and Bulldog, second favorite tag team ever. Like, and they're the funniest goddamn team in the history of professional. Like, funniest goddamn team. Second favorite, working together, just being a tag team ever.
They're definitely in my top 5 tag teams of all time. I don't know that they're second because I think we have the same first, Heart Foundation. And then probably for me, followed up by the Midnight Express and Demolition. And then I'd say Owen and Davey.
Oh, Owen and Davey are fantastic. And Owen is, and I know you and I are talking, and I don't want to step over anything Archie wants to say, but I think Owen is my. I thought about this a lot after watching this and trying to formulate how I wanted to say this. Owen Hart is my second favorite tag team wrestler of all time. It goes Bobby Eaton, Owen Hart, Arn Anderson. Those are the 3 best goddamn tag team wrestlers.
That is a killer top 3 of tag team wrestlers. That is awesome. I have to say.
And in my opinion, tag team wrestling is harder than fucking single wrestling. I think. I'm not a wrestler, so I don't know, but I think it would be harder to be a goddamn tag team wrestler.
It is because you have to find it. You have to find a delicate balance of getting over yourself, but not only yourself, your partner, but not only your partner, not just one opponent,
2 other fucking guys.
Yes.
And to me, those are the 3 best fucking tag team wrestlers I've ever seen in my life, in my opinion.
Well, see, here's where I'm going to back you up on that, 100%. All 3 could have worked with anybody in a tag team and made it work. Bobby Eaton showed that with Steve Kearns, Stan Lane, Arn Anderson, countless others. Owen Hart, Bulldog, Brett, Yoko. I mean, the fact that he made Yoko still look like $1 million when Yoko was much slower and bigger at the time. You know,
Jarrett,
and then Arn Anderson, Jarrett, right? His resurgence with Jarrett as a tag team.
Fucking Owen and Jarrett is a fucking
they were a badass tag team. And then Arn Anderson, damn, you could have made that guy team with a broom sitting in the corner, and Arn Anderson still would have made it look like a great tag team match.
And Owen, like it wasn't like a traditional tag team, but Owen killed it when he was like in the fucking Nation, like, you know what I mean? Like when he was like, there'd be Raws where he'd fucking team with D-Lo or fucking Kama or whatever. Like that fucking dude killed it. And Bobby Eaton did it with Dennis Condrey, Stan Lane, fucking William Regal, all them fucking people, and Arn, everybody. You know what I mean? But I don't want to get lost in the weeds of talking about Owen as a tag team wrestler. Let's just talk about this tag team match. It's not, the match itself isn't the greatest match in the world, but there's no way you're not going to get a good fucking match out of Vader, Mankind, Owen Hart, and the British Bulldog. And we just put over Owen, and now I want to put it over Davey, because Davey's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time too. That dude was a genetic fucking freak. Like, he's one of those. Like I said, I'm not a professional wrestler, so if any wrestler that listens to this show wants to tell me I'm wrong, I have seen Davey Boy Smith do shit in wrestling matches that I don't think anybody else could do.
Davey Boy Smith. He's the only wrestler I've ever seen. He's the only wrestler I've ever seen that could do a kip up without using his fucking arms.
Right.
Did it with his fucking neck.
Yeah, and his legs. Yeah.
Fucking freak. He vertically suplexes Vader in this match. Like, he picks him up and holds him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, doesn't go, oh, here he is. And he fucking holds him.
for those that are listening to the show that maybe weren't alive during this time or weren't old enough to be fans or watch the work during this time, wrestling is presented completely differently nowadays. Right. So it wasn't accentuated, like Aaron's saying, the physical freak that Davey was, but you could put Davey Boy Smith in the category of John Cena and Brock Lesnar as far as just the absolute sheer immense strength and ability.
And he doesn't look like them.
Right.
That's and here's the thing about it too.
Like, he looked like him in like 92. But like when he was at this time in 97, and Archie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But Davey didn't look like a bodybuilder in 97. You know what I mean? He looked like a fit dude. But he was stronger. I guarantee he was stronger than anybody else on that fucking roster.
Oh, without a doubt.
And see, like Nate said,
this was to my point.
Using his fucking hands. It was fucking insane.
The great thing about Bulldog too was they didn't have him do those feats of strength like lifting Vader up or a slam to Yoko or whoever was bigger than him on a constant basis.
Because they knew how to book.
Right. That should be the nickname of this show. The year that was, they knew how to book. You get like Cena fighting the Great Khali, and every promo and vignette and every match that they had, they made it seem like he got him up for the FU for the first time. Lesnar getting up the Big Show for the F5, it was like he did it for the first time. But when Davey did it, it really was for the first time. And we didn't see it every week after. We saw it every 6 months to every year. So it made it special. And that's what Davey was. He was special in that ring. And those are two guys that I will argue to the point, to my dying day, should have been a world heavyweight champion somewhere that they were. Either WCW, WWF, because they had world champion written all over them. So
I'm glad you guys agree with me that fucking Davey, and I know he's in the Hall of Fame and he should be, but I think that fucking dude is super underrated in what he could fucking do, and off of talking about him being a genetic freak, about being able to do those feats of strength and all that shit, he could fucking work. You know what I mean? Like okay, I'm a Hercules fan. Okay, dude was jacked to the gills. He could do all that strength shit and everything. Fucking Hercules can't do a goddamn kip up without using his hands. You know what I mean?
Couldn't throw a drop kick. Couldn't get off his feet.
Fucking Davey could do fucking everything. And before I go any further, this is one of my favorite stories from Brett's book. They were in Calgary and they were doing a softball like charity thing, like the Hearts are gonna play the fucking firemen or whatever, you know. And Davey had just came from England and he was there and they knew he was like this great athlete, so they're like, all right, we're gonna bring Davey in. He's gonna work the Stampede and he's gonna be this fantastic athlete. And we know he can do everything. So let's bring him into this charity softball competition. All right. He's not hitting shit. He can't hit for nothing because he's lost in his fucking mind. And Bruce was like, oh, like Davey's like, I can't hit nothing. I'm fucked. Yeah. And Bruce is like, well, you're using a left-handed bat. He's like, what? It's like, you're using a left-handed bat. Use the right-handed bat. Gives him the same goddamn bat. And it was just in Davey's mind because he had no fucking idea what baseball was. But then he's like, well, you're left-handed. You're using the left-handed bat. Here's the right-handed bat. Gives it to him. And then Davey's like, all right, I got my right-handed bat now. So he's not scared anymore. And Brett said Davey just started cranking him out, man. Like, they threw the ball at him, fucking hit it, knocked it out of the goddamn park, fucking knocked it out all the way. Got to run all the bases. And as he's running, he's like, Brett, it was the fucking bat the whole time.
I could just see Davey like going to like one of those baseball arcades where you hit in a batting range, in a batting cage, and he goes to the owner like, "Do you have any right-handed bats?" And the owner's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
So anyway, this match is happening. It's not. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this shit because there's not a lot to talk about in this match because it's not that great. The reason I don't think it's that great is because this is the one match on the card that had nothing going for it. It was a kind of a slap together match. They gave him like 2 weeks to try to make this match make sense. It was just kind of slammed on there. It was originally supposed, as far as I know, it was originally supposed to be Vader and Mankind in a singles match.
Yes, and it was supposed to be Davey and Austin in a singles match.
Right.
So, thankfully, this match happened because we got cooler shit out of it. But this match was just slammed together to get these guys a payoff. So good for them. At the end of the match, Mankind grabs the urn, but gets toe-holded into it. And then Vader picks it up and hits Davey, and they end up brawling on the floor. Then Bulldog and Vader wind up back in the ring. Bulldog picks up Vader for the power slam. Oh, sorry. I fucked that up. Sorry. Bulldog tried to pick up Mankind for the power slam, but Vader pulls him out. And then Mankind gets the mandible claw on Bulldog, and Owen tries to go save him, and then Owen's wrong with Vader, and basically they all wind up on the outside of the ring, and they all get counted out. It's a double count out, and that's the way the match ends. Kind of fucked it up there at the end. I apologize, but that's how convoluted and much of a clusterfuck this match was. It wasn't that great. Even with the 4 people involved who were fantastic performers, this match sucked.
Hey, some days you're the windshield, other days you're the bug.
Yes. So then we get a recap of the Bret Hart Steve Austin feud, and I think this I'll try to keep it short, but I think this might probably be the longest thing that we discuss on the show because it's fucking fantastic. Like, I'm going to tell you guys right now, out the chute, this is one of the 5 best WrestleMania matches in the history of fucking ever.
I will agree with that.
So, and I will, before we start talking about the match, say this. This is my thought on this match, and I'm sorry to anybody listening that, like, lived through fucking Bruno or lived through Buddy Rogers or whatever, or you want to be pretentious or a historian.
Damn, Nate's about to drop the heeliest promo ever.
So I will say, let's say post 1980. All right. Because I always have to cut my shit off at like 1980 because I'm not going back and watching shit from the 70s. I'm just not doing it. This is the second. You can say there may have been a match here or there that was better, blah, blah, blah. This is the second most significant match in WWF history. The first is Hogan and Andre. There's no argument there. I won't argue that. The second is this one. And the third is WrestleMania 30, Brock and Taker. Those are the 3 most significant matches in modern WWF history.
Change the business everywhere.
This match changes everything.
Yep.
And that's kind of interesting because there's a couple questions I have that come out of this match. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't want to keep you guys super late.
Well, we don't have to go. We don't have to get too deep into the match. Everybody's seen it a million times anyway, so we can have a discussion about the significance of it.
So okay, let me just break down the match real quick because, like when I say I broke down this match, I have like 15 notes about this. Brett and Steve, they come out. Ken Shamrock's the special guest referee. Chicago's digging Steve Austin when he comes out. Then they're digging Brett. Austin double legs Brett before the bell. They brawl around the ring side into the crowd. Back into the ring. Brett into the steps. End up back into the ring. Vince says if Bret Hart loses, what will be his excuse? Because Vince is mad at Brett because he shoved him on his ass on Monday. Brett
Andy attacked Pat Patterson, that no good son of a
bitch. Brett working over Austin's knee, and gets him into the corner and hits him with the Brett gets the figure 4 on the post, which is a Brett fucking original. I don't think if anybody else did that.
Not before Brett, no.
Or since. And I wrote that down as being significant because the people are still into Brett at this point. Like this is the greatest masterpiece in professional wrestling ever. Like people were still into Brett here. And then it goes back and forth. Austin's knee's fucked up. Brett grabs a bell and a chair. He doesn't know which one he's going to use. And then he goes to put the chair on Austin's knee. Austin gets up, ends up hitting Brett. Austin goes for a Boston Crab. No dice. That doesn't work. And Brett kicks him out. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, by the way, just because you mentioned it, Bret Hart on the top rope, going to Pillman Austin's leg. Austin grabbing the chair and then cracking Brett with it is one of the coolest spots in pro wrestling history.
Yeah.
It's one of the coolest spots ever.
That is when people were like, we kind of like Steve a little bit. Because this is where Brett was starting to get shitty. You know what I mean? Like this, I don't want to say this. This was the fucking Chicago was the perfect goddamn crowd to do this in front of.
Yep.
Like if you would have done this in Boise, nobody would have a fucking idea what's going on. If you did not do this shit in New York or Chicago, nobody would have any fucking idea what's happening.
You needed smart fans to be watching it, fans that were watching every day, right?
Yeah. And I'm not and I'm not knocking any, like, I'll say this. If you would have done this in Columbus, Ohio, nobody would have had any fucking idea what was happening. But this fucking crowd understood it. And the minute Brett went to try to Pillman Austin, they were just like, fuck you, you're an asshole. You know what I mean?
But do it anyway. We want to see it.
Yeah. So, like I said, they stopped that. Austin went for the Boston Crab. Brett kicked out of it, which sent Austin outside. And then Brett ended up slamming into the guardrail. Austin does the most important thing they do in this match. He gigs. So now Austin's busted open. Brett attacks Austin's knee brace. And then Brett attempts to put the sharpshooter on Austin. And Austin's like, nope, that ain't going to work. And kicks him off. And then Austin fires back and slams Brett chest first into the buckle, which Brett does that better than anybody else in professional.
His whole chest cut caved in.
Nobody takes a sternum first corner bump better than Bret Hart. Nobody. So he does that. And then Austin Brett takes that bump. Austin grabs him, slams him down in the corner, starts doing the mud stomp. Then Austin grabs a cord from ringside. He's going to choke Brett with it. And this is cool because the bell that Brett was going to use, it was like the bell or the chair. I'm going to use the chair. The bell is still on ringside, which was a good fucking, like, was a nice touch. Brett sees that as he's getting choked, hits Austin with the bell. Austin falls back. Brett rolls into the ring, gets him in the sharpshooter. Austin will not submit. Shamrock keeps saying, Austin, do you submit? Steve, talk to me. Steve, if you don't answer me, I'm gonna call it. Steve, I'm gonna give you a 10 count or whatever to answer me, Steve, answer me, Steve. Like, he's talking to him. Steve doesn't answer. So Shamrock calls it referee stoppage with the blood and all that shit trickling down.
That iconic picture, yep.
It is fucking phenomenal.
Yep. And
so these are the two questions I have. All right. Two questions I have.
Okay.
And either one of you can answer them, or you can both answer them, whatever. Which match is better? This one or their Survivor Series match? Because they're both great, but which one's better?
I like this one better.
Me too. I'd say this one gets the edge. The Survivor Series match was a better technical match, but this match was a much hotter match.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the second question I have is not significant to wrestling, but significant to Steve Austin. Which is the bigger Austin moment? WrestleMania 13 or King of the Ring?
This one?
Yeah, I go with this one.
All right.
The King of the Ring was an introduction. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
This was we're making the man here. And another thing I want to say really quick is this is also a testament to Steve's ability and his talent, because in one match, this man is the biggest son of a bitch you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
But he's also sympathetic. How do you find that balance? That, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's also fantastic for Brett because he's been the happy-go-lucky guy the entire time. And now he's the biggest shitbird on the yard. You know what I mean? Like, this is, and I'll say this and then we'll move on to because there's two more matches we got to talk about. This is my third favorite heel turn of all time. And it's only behind Hogan, which I know it got convoluted and broken up and whatever. Hogan's the greatest heel turn of all time. That's fucking Bash of the Beach, Hogan turn heel. You don't beat it. You know what I mean?
Well, then, you know me, I disagree. I think the Brett heel turn is better. But anyway, I get it. I get what you're saying, though. But for me personally,
Hogan sold goddamn vitamins. You know what I mean? Like, and that cartoons and shit. Like, that was like, what? He's bad now? But anyway, I'd put this as third behind Hogan and Savage. But
well, here's what I'm going to say here. Why I guess I agree with Nate on this. Hogan's heel turn was planned. They knew Hogan was going to the ring that night and joining the NWO, and they knew the fans were going to boo because Mr. Take Your Vitamins and Say Your Prayers just told everybody to stick it. They didn't know what was going to happen in the Brett and Austin match. They didn't expect Brett to turn heel and Austin to turn face. They thought the fans were still going to be cheering Brett through all of this. It was the fans that dictated the heel turn here and the double turn, in my opinion. So that's why the Brett and Austin match is a little more iconic than the Hogan match for heel turn, for face turn.
I can dig it.
I knew that you could.
So, all right, the next match we got is something that we can run through quick. It is the Nation of Domination, Farouk, Crush, and Savio Vega versus Ahmed Johnson, the LOD, in a street fight.
And your MVP, ladies and gentlemen, in this match is not even in the match because it's D'Lo Brown.
Yep. Got put through a table worse than anybody else has ever been put through.
I somewhat agree with that. But there's two guys that watching this match the other day, I was like, I think they're kind of underrated in this match. One thing I do miss in wrestling is a dirty mat.
Yeah.
Say that like Austin and Brett had their match, and Austin's blood and Brett's blood were still all over the mat.
Thanks, Biden.
Now in wrestling, they just split them. What did he say?
Thanks,
I
Biden.
said thanks, Biden.
Yeah.
We blame
you know what?
else.
I don't want to. I just my newest thing I do, because no matter who's president,
right?
People blame everything on the president, even though half of it or 90% of it is even his fault, like gas prices and shit. We've seen gas at $4 again.
Shit takes
but anyway,
3 years.
Yeah,
normal.
But no, my new thing is whenever something like that happens, like at work, if we have to like mark up macaroni and cheese or whatever because of costs or whatever, my new thing is thanks, Calvin Coolidge. I just shit on Calvin Coolidge all the time. Like, thanks a lot, Calvin Coolidge. I picked the most obscure president and just roll with him. Anyway,
they're out of Tickle Me Elmo Dolls. Thanks, Bill Clinton.
Thanks, Calvin Coolidge. Thanks, Rutherford B. Hayes.
Yeah.
What was the one that was in there for like 4 months?
Well, we had a president that was in there for like 30 days. William Henry Harrison. Yeah. Yep. Thanks, William Henry Harrison.
Was he the stupid ass that didn't put on a coat?
Yes.
Yeah, he died of pneumonia.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put on a coat. They're like, it's 27 below,
and it's 18. It's 1802.
Nate,
we barely have shoes. We barely have shoes, and we think leeches is what's saving us.
Nate, all the schizophrenic weather we've been having. Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks, William Henry Harrison, for the bad weather.
It's like your teeth are black stubs, and you have to put on a wig hat. You look like an 85-year-old woman already, and you're just gonna go out there.
It's cold, man.
You look like a fat, dumpy 85-year-old woman right now, and you're gonna go out in minus 27 below weather with no jacket because you don't want to seem weak. You're a fucking idiot.
Thanks, Howard Taft, you fat fuck.
Yeah, he got stuck in a tub and died, I think.
Or he choked on a ham sandwich like Mama Cass. I don't know.
I think Taft got stuck in a tub.
All right. I'd like the viewers.
Back to wrestling.
Hold on. I'd like the viewers of the year that was ... to understand how uninterested we are in Nation of Domination versus LOD and Ahmed Johnson. That we took a 5-minute break to talk about presidents we want to blame about shit that wasn't their fault. WWF, you booked a crap match.
It wasn't a complete crap match, but it was a Chicago street fight.
Ahmed Johnson had to murder D'Lo Brown to get the fans to pop.
So Animal and Farouk.
Oh, I'm right.
They fuck up a table spot. Animal tries to fucking pile drive Farouk through like a very small table. Like they had the French commentators on like a TV tray. Okay.
Yeah.
And Animal, who's like 300 pounds, is trying to pile drive Farouk Ron Simmons, who's 280 pounds, through a goddamn TV tray. And it doesn't work out.
Nope.
So they just kind of stumble through it. Then Farouk ends up getting hit by a fire extinguisher by Ahmed Johnson. And when I say hit, I mean they shot off. They shot off this gimmick fire extinguisher. Because I don't know if you guys know how fire extinguishers work. It doesn't just like, make this big plume of smoke or whatever. It whatever. But anyway, they do this, and it's basically like they shoot sawdust out or whatever. And there's like a small, like I was watching, there's a small group of fans who are like, fuck this. So like, there's a small group of fans that just get smacked right in the, they paid like $200 to sit in the fucking front of WrestleMania and just get shot in the face with whatever the fuck this shit is. And they're pissed.
And Jim Ross sells it great because he coughs like he's got emphysema.
Right.
Yeah. He's like,
yeah. And he actually says, if you have asthma, this is not the place to be right now, which is funny. Johnson ends up slamming Farouk through a table, but doesn't clear it. So Ahmed Johnson, Tony Norris takes Ron Simmons and just slams him through a fucking table. It's fucking insane. And Nate, you were saying that D'Lo Brown took he was like the MVP or whatever. You know what I think the MVPs of this match are?
The table?
JCI FED.
Oh, yeah.
They are doing a fantastic job the entire time through this match. Like anytime Hawk, Animal, or Ahmed Johnson wind up close to them, they fucking run. Like they bolt. The entire, like, they'll be mean mugging the fans, and if they even get like a side eye, a Hawk, they fucking bolt. Like the entire time. And then by the end of the match, which I'm not gonna sugar, like whatever, in the match, LOD and Johnson end up winning the match because they hit Crush with the 2x4, and Hawk pins him 1, 2, 3. LOD, what a rush. Johnson ends up hitting the Pro River Plunge on D'Lo Brown, but then JC Ice and Wolfie D are stuck in there, and they end up getting like a double doomsday device from Hawk, and they're like selling it like.
It was a cool spot. I will say that was a cool spot.
They sell it like fucking fish on a deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I think they were the MVPs of this match, in my opinion. That's how that match ends. You guys have anything else on that?
Nope.
We'll roll into the main event. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. Shawn Michaels, who fucked this entire event up, he's getting celebrated. He comes out looking very late 90s. Would you guys say 97 is late 90s? I would say 97 is late 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out looking very late 90s in his outfit. He's wearing a leather blazer with a t-shirt, black pants, and some black dress shoes.
Yes.
That's what he's
doing. He looks like a man who's never found the clitoris in his entire life.
Well, he's got a lot of them.
I said he looks like. He's dressed like a man who's never found a clitoris in his entire life.
To me, he looked like he was about to star in the new Corey Feldman movie.
I guess I went raunchy, and Archie went traditional with his comedy.
Well, we had to.
To me, he looked like. To me, he looked like a guy that if he steps on a patch of ice, he's fucked.
Oh yeah.
He's going down, and his knee injury is going to be real now.
You don't wear loafers in Chicago.
In merch.
Yeah.
But anyway, he comes out. And the reason I said, oh, let's celebrate the guy that fucked up WrestleMania, he's not even in the main event. He's just the commentator. His music plays twice.
Yeah, that's how long they let it go.
And I'm sure that Vince McMahon uttered these words together. Let me get my Vince ready.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels, all right. Because that was one of Vince's favorite things to say in 1997 was Shawn Michaels, all right. Anyway.
And, like, they made Shawn do these things. Like, he was a commentator in this match. He was the guest referee for Undertaker versus Brad. You know, you don't want to work with Brett or any of these guys to put them over, but you still want the spotlight so you can be on TV and go, "Hi, I'm still here. Remember me?
Yes.
I didn't leave yet. I'm still here." You know, like, dude, if you're gonna take a break, take a break. You know, you don't got to be on TV. We won't forget you. You're fine. Your spot is safe.
So the guest commentator gets gets his entrance, gets to make an entrance and have his theme song play twice, and then he gets sparklers, and then he goes to sit down, and now we're going to interview the champ, and Todd Pettengill interviews Sid, who says, WrestleMania, this is what he says, WrestleMania is the biggest event of the world.
Except for softball next week.
And Todd's just kind of looking at him. And he's like, what are you going to do? And he says, like, I'm not afraid of the dark. I want to beat the Undertaker. And then Todd's like, back to you guys. Like, Todd had no fucking idea what to do with that.
It sounds like something a 7-year-old would say.
Right. I'm not afraid of the dark. You know that,
WrestleMania is the biggest event in the world.
You remember that?
And like I said,
kid, I miss my mom. Are you okay? Well, yes. Yes. Where he starts crying. Do you expect Sid to do that? I'm not afraid of the dark much.
The funniest part wasn't even Sid saying WrestleMania is the biggest event in the world. It was Todd just looking up at him. Like I don't know what to do.
Where are you going? Right.
And then he's like, what are you going to do? So anyway, that happened. And then The Undertaker comes out. And then Psycho Sid comes out. And Sid is our defending WWF champion. And they're getting ready to have... Oh, sorry. What?
The Undertaker went back to his old color scheme. He's now black and gray just for WrestleMania.
Yes. And they even brought that up. They brought up the fact that Jim Ross brought up that this is Undertaker coming to WrestleMania 13. The first time he appeared at WrestleMania, he beat Jimmy Snuka,
right,
wearing similar attire. Like, he didn't say the same outfit. He said similar attire. Taker's back into his black and gray. The bell rings, and then Bret Hart comes out. He interrupts the match. He cuts a promo. He's bitching about everything. He says that HBK's a pussyfoot liar, and he tells Taker that when you slam that door in my head, you slam the door in our friendship. And he looks at Sid, and he's like, Sid, you know I had you in that cage match, and if it wasn't for Taker, I would have beat you, so you're a fraud. And then Sid punches Bret Hart and then gives him a power bomb and says, get out of here, you whiny ass. Hop along, crybaby. And as he's yelling, he's like, get out of here with your...
I knew it was coming. Every time it happens, I laugh. Hop along, crybaby is one of my favorite... It's one of my favorite lines in wrestling history.
And it's not just yours. Guess who else's is? Shawn Michaels. Because when he's like, get out of here with your whiny ass, Shawn's listening and he's like, hop along, cry baby. And Shawn's like, like it wasn't like a fake like Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard horse laugh. Like when he said "hop along, cry baby," Shawn Michaels is like,
I love it.
Shawn loved it, and then Brett ends up leaving, and I'm not going to hate on either one of these guys because I love the Undertaker, and I think Sid is somewhat underrated in a lot of the like Nate and I talked about before. Sid's great when he's in there with somebody good, but this is a basic big man match. They go back and forth.
It's ugly. It's ugly. And that was a question I was going to ask, and I want to say, like Aaron did before I start this question, I love the Undertaker. Shit, who doesn't? The guy's one of the greatest of all time. I dig Sid, and I love this WrestleMania. But I'll pose a question here. Worst WrestleMania main event of all time. Is it this match or Hogan and Bundy? Because it's
Hogan
one of
and
those
Bundy.
two. It's one of those
In my
two.
opinion.
And I'm not trying to shit on these guys, but
No.
WrestleMania main events, it's either this match or Hogan and Bundy.
In my opinion, the reason that it's Hogan and Bundy for worst WrestleMania matches because Hogan was so big at that time, they thought they could put him in the ring with anybody, and it was going to be absolute gold for them, and it was going to be continuing to move forward. No one wanted to see Hogan and Bundy at WrestleMania. Though they wanted to see either Hogan versus Mr. Wonderful, or Hogan versus Andre, or Hogan versus Savage. With Undertaker and Sid, everything that came along that year with Brad, Shawn, Austin, the Royal Rumble fiasco, this wasn't the worst thing they could have fell on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just from match quality, WrestleMania main event wise, it's a toss up between those two matches for me.
Well, that's a lot of the Undertaker. That's why they didn't start talking about the streak until we got higher up. Because if you look at the Undertaker streak, Mark Henry, Sid Vicious, you know what I mean? The Giant Gonzalez, Bundy, Mr. Hughes. What were those all? 5, 6, and 7 minute matches? What did he get? 10 out of Sid?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not the greatest decorated legacy ever, but it's him going 20 something and 0, So
Aaron, I hijacked your show.
That's fine. And I needed to answer. I would say it was if I had to pick out of one of those, I'd say the worst would be Hogan Bundy.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because I like Hogan Bundy. I don't want to get too into it, but the reason I would pick this one over that is because I wanted the Undertaker to win the fucking belt.
And he did. Yeah.
And he did. And I know we were talking about like when Mick won it, they talked about it being kind of like a lifetime achievement award or whatever. I don't look at Taker winning this as like a lifetime achievement award.
No.
I look at it as everybody in that building was like, this guy should be the fucking champ.
Right.
And that's what happens. What happens in the match
is the belt off of him so quick afterwards, after Mania.
Yeah.
But what they did back then.
What happens in this match is a super basic match. And like I said, it's two big dudes. So what do you expect? They do an impressive thing where Taker tries to get Sid into the tombstone. Sid reverses it and gets Taker to his own tombstone, which that's fucking impressive. I'm sorry. These guys, one was 5'9", one of them's 5'9", one of them's 6'9", one of them's 6'11", and they did that. It's fucking impressive. So Sid ends up hitting Taker with the tombstone, tries to get the 1, 2, 3. It doesn't happen. And then Brett comes back out and hits Sid with a chair, and Sid backs into Taker. Taker ends up getting the tombstone, and pins him 1, 2, 3, and the Undertaker is the new champ, and that's how we end WrestleMania 13.
And it's the dark days, as Vince tries to coin it. The dark days have begun.
The ending was actually really cool. The lights being out, him bowing down in the ring and hoisting up the title. You know, the fact that he was in his old gear again. The crowd lighting up their lighters and everything to pay homage to him. You know, it was finally a time where The Undertaker won the world title. Because we all know the BS that happened with Survivor Series and Tuesday Night in Texas and all that. That really wasn't a world title run. That was a, hey, we were going to put the title on you, but Hogan decided again he wanted to play some politics. So, you know, he was like, okay, no problem.
Right.
He finally got it. So many years later, he finally got his moment.
Yeah, so we will get into, as Aaron's show rolls on here, we will get into a lot of the machinations and stuff as the shows go on over time. But his title reign here, probably mostly because of shit that goes on behind the scenes and political maneuvering and stuff,
It
almost
muddied.
becomes, yes, very much so. It becomes muddied. It becomes kind of the title, the champion almost gets put on the back burner.
Can I call a spade here real quick? And I hate to say this, and I know I'm not trying to sound mean. I don't mean for, if it comes out wrong, I apologize already. Having Farouk challenge for the title, no big deal. Former world heavyweight champion Ron Simmons, right? But they immediately had to turn it into the race card. They immediately had to be, well, there's never been a black heavyweight champion in this company, and I have to fight for my title shot. And then even Ahmed Johnson got into it too. Yeah, you've never had a, you know, why couldn't it just be Farouk getting a title shot?
Exactly.
No one would have barked at it. No one would have said anything about it. You know, he could have had feuds if they would have given him that title run for a year with Mankind again, with Vader, because he would have worked with Vader with no problem. He could have feuded with Owen and Bulldog. Could have feuded with Yoko one more time if they wanted him to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a year's worth of planning right there. But we had two crybabies who were bitching about being in the spotlight.
Exactly.
So, to kind of put a bow on it, this is one of my favorite. Like I said, this is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. It's my top 5 WrestleMania ever. There's nothing really bad on the show, but if I had to vote and go best match, it would be Austin and Brett. Obviously, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. And then I'd say, and it took a lot for me to say it, but I think the worst match on the show was Bulldog and Owen versus Vader and Mankind.
I agree on the best match. Worst match, I'd say Rocky and Sultan.
Okay.
I agree on the best match. I'd say the 6-man tag with LOD and Ahmed was kind of bad. It ended anyway in a weird way, and it just, you know, that was a Monday Night Raw main event if I ever saw one that they pushed to WrestleMania.
All right. So, next week or 3 weeks from now, whenever the fuck I get around, the next thing we're going to discuss will be the Monday Raw, or the Raw is War, and the Monday Nitro from March 3rd or March 24th, 1997. So I'm looking forward to that and talking to you guys about it. So unless you guys have any other things we need to discuss about WrestleMania 13, we'll put a pin in it. Let you guys go to bed. Let me eat a pizza. And
I think I blew around all the
about this this fucking Nitro from the 24th of March 1997. Drunk notes are always fun. So
nope, I think I blew all the wind I needed to blow this week.
Me too.
All right. I don't blow anything, so good job, guys.